Hello everyone and welcome to game 2 in a series between SuperNova versus Slivko here on Antigua Shipyard. Let's go ahead and get this game underway. Game 1, a very heavy pressure match coming in between SuperNova and Slivko, really showcasing that Korean style where players are able to macro while putting down pressure. Slivko had a very strong harvester advantage for much of the game and had his natural expansion running, but SuperNova able to open up with a rather unique Reapers into Hellions into Banshee play and be very effective with it. I had thought that SuperNova perhaps would not be able to capitalize on that early pressure, but I think the amount of time, the forcing of SuperNova to constantly fend off attacks, perhaps he missed an inject or two, and after that, once a Zerg player loses a couple injects, and the entire production can really start to fall apart. Now, it looks like this is, I believe, the GSL version or perhaps the MLG version of Antigua Shipyard, meaning that the supply depot it does force cross spawns, and there are low ground or burrowed supply depots at the bottom of the ramps to make sure that you cannot wall in your opponent. Now, we'll see what's going to happen here. SuperNova open up with a barracks as, hold on one moment. All right, hello everyone. Sorry about that. The wife left her phone at home, and yeah, so honey, you somehow made it into my cast. Anyways, Slivko, we'll see what he tries to go for. It looks like he will be going once again for that 15 hatchery, a very economic build, and we'll see if SuperNova goes for the same build that he did in the previous game. This is going to be full cross spawns, so because of that, there will be a significant delay on Banshees, and this is really where you have to play strategies based upon the map. We can see that a barracks will be completed, and we'll see if a tech lab is added down. No, a marine being trained, so we're seeing a new strategy coming in from SuperNova. And I always like to see different builds and different strategies. The drone went up the ramp and decided to go back down, as it is now simply patrolling down over here, so not quite sure what that's about. It's almost baiting to get killed, as the drone now moves away and goes back home. So not quite sure what that was about. Perhaps gonna try to hide this drone somewhere else, take a more roundabout way in getting home, or perhaps set up a hatchery somewhere else. This is not gonna be the best use, as the marine will simply move across the center here, and it may still even view that drone. Yes, he sees the drone running all the way back home, so all of that was pretty much for naught. If the drone just walked straight back home, it may have been okay, as you now see a bunker being established here. The bunker is going to force drones to come off the mineral line, and this is something that a lot of Terran players have been doing recently, just because they know that by forcing so many drones to come off the mineral line in order to fight this, he actually wins in the economic war. The SCV does get taken down though, and now Zerglings will come out, canceling of that bunker, and there you go. Still, Slivko took a little bit of economic damage in trying to take care of that, as we now see Zerglings march across the field. We are going into the reactor Hellion opening, so SuperNova opening up with a more tried and true strategy. The Marines, one Marine doing a little bit of running around, knowing that his life was already lost, deciding to delay and run around in circles, forcing Slivko to chase it and saving this other Marine. So this Marine now back at home, as we are going to be going into Hellions. Command center about to be halfway completed. Zerglings may try to make another move out. Slivko should be just trying to power drone at this stage, getting up a strong economy, and we'll see whether or not a new hatchery will be placed down. You can see a spine crawler is placed down here. I've recently seen a lot of Zerg players place down a macro hatch at their natural expansion to do a little bit of SimCity, prevent Hellions from running in, as the Zerglings engaging on creep should benefit a lot here, as now the Zerglings are forced to back off. Hit points will naturally regenerate, and they will be able to survive a little bit longer, as the spine crawler does move towards that front door in order to make sure that those Hellions are not able to walk up at all. Spine crawler currently at 289 hit points. 4 Hellions, if they try to charge up that ramp, will simply get destroyed. Not quite sure why Slivko opted to move. Wanted to move the creep tumor just a little bit, and we'll see what comes of that, as we are now getting an evolution chamber. A very nice build there, making sure to get this ramp a little bit smaller, as another creep tumor now being laid down, and also adding in a roach warren. There is that macro hatch off over here, so the Zerg player really not wanting to be larva limited. Hellions just dancing around back and forth. The creep tumors are up on the high ground. They are currently not being spotted, and we'll see what these creep tumors can do. Unfortunately for the Zerg, they cannot lay down a creep tumor here and then right here, even though it's relatively close distances. The creep needs to be able to spread up there first. Perhaps if he lays on a creep tumor here, then it could actually spread up there up to the high ground, but then the Hellions may actually be able to spot that. So that would be a bit of an issue. We'll see what these creep tumors do. Perhaps it can hide off over here and then start to push their way out so that the queens have a little bit more maneuverability and room to maneuver. We'll see what's happening next, as the Hellions are still sitting outside that front door. It looks like SuperNova playing the passive role this time around, knowing that his opponent is going to be on the defensive end as well, just trying to macro, as we are going into banelings and roaches, and this isn't the constant pressure that we saw in game 1. SuperNova now sitting at 35 SCVs compared to 51 drones. Roach is now at the front door. An additional command center hasn't been established, which is something I would like to normally see from a Terran player now. Setting up a third command center just in order to catch up in terms of SCV count, and also be able to call in another mule or use scanner sweeps. Slivko currently taking a very nice lead now, as a new hatchery is being established. We can see that the roaches are finally making their way down, and we should be getting the Glio Reconstitution, the movement speed upgrade, on all of those roaches, allowing these roaches to almost move as fast as Hellions on creep. Actually moving faster than Mutalisks on creep, as we now see a drop coming in. So this is going to be a straight up cover fire drop, as Overlords are gonna as the Overlord here will fall. So the Overlord taking a lot of damage already. The roaches are now being forced to move back around. There are banelings in that group, as the Marines are now trying to push their way in. Has to be very careful here, picking up all of those units and now backing off. The Hellions perhaps are trying to do a little bit of cover fire protection, not able to do all too much. The Marines will now have combat shield, an additional 10 hit points for each of them, making them a little bit more Baneling proof. As Baneling proof as Marines can be, as 1, 2, 3, 4 creep tumors quickly get destroyed, and may even catch a spine crawler. The spine crawler does have armor, but not enough here, as the Marines are now trying to run away. Banelings quickly make their way over, and now we might see a drop up on the high ground, and is it going to be enough? Overlord may fall here. Zerglings and Banelings trying to make their way back over. Is it going to be enough? Banelings do hit, and wow, that is a lot of damage to be had. We could have seen perhaps SuperNova drop another Marine into that Baneling group, sacrificing one Marine for one Baneling. Always a good choice, as we now see the Medivacs jumping up onto the high ground again. So the Marines really getting in an easy damage so far. Roach is now pushing their way in. Banelings trying to find their target, able to get some damage here. And now going back into that very aggressive play. But I think Slivko has already on 3 bases. You can see that the Viking off over here hasn't really found any Overlords. They wanted to hunt for some targets, unable to do so. We are going into pathogen glands now, so infestors will come out, and Slivko, now with a 24 food advantage, has a very, very nice lead. We'll see what's going to happen here, as we now also see a hatchery being placed down at this, what would normally be the gold, at the center 6 o'clock location, as we are also going now into a 3rd orbital command. So SuperNova going into 3 bases, meanwhile Slivko moving into his 4th, as we see a very heavy 55 to 77 drone advantage so far. Zerglings now looking to swarm in here. The Marines quickly jumping back inside. The Marines are not upgraded 1-1 as of yet. Meanwhile, the Zerglings are, as all these units are backing off. There is one Viking hiding off over here, the Medivac looking to somehow deal damage, and I like this play by Nova, a Terran player who unloads his Marines to allow and make sure that his Marines are getting healed, as opposed to just staying inside the belly or in the cargo bay of a Medivac. A hatchery will be established here, and SuperNova may be able to find this as it's being built. There are some Zerglings here but the Zerglings should be able to run in and clean up all of these Marines in just a matter of seconds, as the Marines are going to perhaps run up. They need to stim. They need to get in position. Zerglings now making their way over. The hatchery down to 100 hit points. Is it going to be enough to take it down? Yes, it is actually destroyed, not canceled, right as the 1-1 upgrades on those Marines complete. Marines now waiting for 2-2 to start as the armory is being built. More siege tanks being added as well. Perhaps we'll see level 1 weapons upgrade on those siege tanks. Level 2 infantry upgrades coming in first, followed by, I believe, armor upgrades in just a moment. And we'll see how this is all going to be spelled out, as Slivko still has a nice 34 food advantage. But SuperNova is going to be taking the center portion of the map and utilizing that high ground to its fullest, being able to deal a lot of damage to this hatchery. The hatchery most likely will fall unless there is going to be a counter, and the counter looks like it will be a Greater Spire. Greater Spire, obviously for Broodlords. Broodlords very effective, and that is just the power of Zerg being able to essentially half-train a flock of Broodlords and then being able to upgrade them all with cocoons in a matter of seconds. As long as there are infestors coupled with those Broodlords, Marines cannot get into them, as they will be stunned for just a moment of time, and then after that they will be choked up on Broodlings. There is one Viking in the air off over here, but with the sheer number of Corruptors and Slivko sitting on about 900 gas, we should see a murder of Broodlords making their way out. And there you go, 5 Broodlords now being added. They are kind of spaced apart. 7 Broodlords now being added. Perhaps we will go into 8, and with 8 Broodlords, that should be able to open up this, but there are drops now coming over here. SuperNova gonna get handled off over here. It looks like another drop over here can get handled as well, as the Marines now try to make their way in. A Queen quickly getting taken down, as the Zerglings now gonna try to swarm in as well. Is it gonna be enough? As we see also another attack at the center, so a great job by Slivko. Sorry, not Slivko, by SuperNova, attacking in multiple locations, hitting 3 bases at once, tearing up this hatchery, destroying this hatchery, and dealing some economic damage here. So with those small groups, you see Slivko forced to cancel his hatchery once more. Where are those Broodlords, as the infestors are now coming in, and now in comes the Broodlords. Are they going to be answered is the question. Broodlords now making their way in. SuperNova, does he spot this? He sees the Broodlings in the air, and he may be forced to retreat. All of those siege tanks are going to be in problems now, as the Broodlings are going to be able to chase and attack, dealing a lot of damage. Siege tanks are now just simply blasting, as SuperNova has siege tanks in the center portion of the map. He needs to unsiege those, as the Marines are now going to try to make their way in. Is it going to be enough? There are Vikings in this group. Are we going to see infestors? And now here we go, Zerglings, fungal growths, perhaps even more damage. The Vikings now trying to fight back. All of the Corruptors now coming in. And Slivko catching SuperNova just off guard, not expecting that many Broodlords, as one medevac may get destroyed. The medevac is down to 62 hit points. The Corruptors could make their way over, deciding to escort or continuing that escort instead. There is one medevac here. It knows about that Spore Crawler. This area is pretty much wide open in order to be taken out. There is a Thor as well, but Thors do not do well against Broodlords. Vikings now once again trying to make their way in. Corruptors are going to give a chase, and there we go. And there's a fungal growth. That was huge. Another fungal growth stopping all of those Corruptors, and now Zerglings are going to be able to chase back in, as the Broodlords may want to re-engage. Yes, 6 Broodlords may be able to re-engage and take this down. Meanwhile, a drop over here at the natural expansion, cleaning up many of the drones, but that is also freeing up the food for Slivko, as Slivko is now training up an additional 9 Corruptors, and now Vikings are making their way out again. We'll see what's going to be happening next. Corruptors are out. The Viking going after low hit point Broodlords. The Broodlord now down to 9 hit points. Oh, does get a transfuse. Currently only 4 Broodlords left in the air. What is going to happen here? 4 Broodlords and a whole bunch of Corruptors, but not enough gas to convert them into Broodlords. Drones hiding off over here. We'll see what's going to happen next. We are currently sitting on 6 Broodlords now. Broodlings now raining in from the sky. Vikings now trying to make their way in. It looks like they will be able to do exactly that, as the Marines and Corruptors are pushing in the siege tanks out of siege mode, as the Banelings were able to find their target and get in here. Even a Queen joining in on the fight, and the Queen it should get shelled, but getting in a lot of transfusions on Broodlords. The Broodlords still alive, and now more Corruptors morphing into Broodlords as Slivko knows that he has superior numbers and has his opponent on the run. Vikings unable to really handle the numbers now as we see what more infestors coming in. A fungal growth could come in. There's one fungal growth also hitting in Vikings. Corruptors going after units. Marines trying to finish off the Corruptors, unable to do so. And now these Thors are being forced to run away as the Broodlords are launching Broodlings. Another scanner sweep. The Thors are not going to be able to deal that much damage. They're trying to focus fire down, but in comes a double transfuse from a Queen, saving the unit again as the Broodlings are marching their way across the map, and SuperNova now just running on 3 or 2 bases as this base is not yet up and running, and SuperNova needs to figure out where he can expand. Slivko perhaps needs to get more gas only with 3 drones off over here. Slivko at 182, 73 drones to 67, but it's really the standing army that's causing problems. The army of Slivko more than double in terms of minerals and almost what, 5 times in terms of gas. More Broodlords now being added. We'll see what's going to happen. The Vikings now trying to push in. There are Corruptors and Infestors both sides. Where's the fungal growth? The fungal growth should be coming in. No, instead just simply attacking here. And I don't see. There's the fungal growth finally hitting many of those Marines. Corruptors going after Vikings. Thors going after Broodlords. Not what you want to see happen, as Slivko should be able to straight up win this with superior numbers, as we now see the army 5,000 versus 2,000 mineral count, and that doesn't even count all these Broodlings on the field. The Broodlings are upgraded 2-1, dealing a lot of damage as the Thors don't have any armor upgrades, and those Broodlings are just going to start ripping through many of those units again. The Broodlords don't have any upgrades either. We'll see what's going to happen here as the Viking really trying to utilize its superior range and faster fast movement speed. But as soon as Corruptors are getting within range, the Vikings can't really kite them, as the Corruptors are now taking down Vikings as they come out onto the field. One Viking now left. The Broodlords just simply walking inside the base. Queens keeping this army alive, constantly transfusing and saving multiple Broodlords, as the Broodlord now down to 146 hit points, and now Slivko even microing the Broodlings to go after the right targets. Queen finally destroyed, but Slivko, his army simply may be too large, now at 6,000 minerals, and we see the production tab showing even more Broodlords being built in the middle of the battlefield. And I believe SuperNova has to be reanalyzing this game. Zerglings have already swarmed over here, forcing a liftoff. This orbital command or command center was looking to try to perhaps land here. Only see Slivko has taken it. And the Thor, who really should be focusing on the Queen, decides not to, and there is the GG. So SuperNova losing game 2 here in this series. I hate to do this, but based on time, I am going to have to split up my games just a little bit more. There is still more games in this series. I will cast them, post them up perhaps on Thursday, as tomorrow is Wednesday, Warcraft Wednesdays. My apologies, but then again, I have like 5 additional games from King of the Hill yesterday going up, so if you guys are watching StarCraft 2 on Valentine's Day, you guys have plenty to watch. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.